There's a story, because part of all this is about how we might think we're in control of our lives, but it's really God that is doing everything down to the minutest detail, and it's just for us to recognize that and wake up to it. And the more we wake up to it, the more we can rejoice with God with everything that comes. There's a story about this fellow who had been a corporate executive for many years, been very successful up in New York City. And he said to his wife, wife and kids, we're going to change our life. We're going to go down to Myrtle Beach. There's a big retreat center down there. We're going to just really focus on the spiritual side of life. And so they moved down to Myrtle Beach, and he got a job, and because he's very qualified. And 6 months later, that business goes under. The owner decides to retire and just closes it down. And he goes, oh, that's really strange. And it takes him, 3 to 6 months to find another job. He gets another job, and same thing happens there. And after about 3 or 4 years, he's gone through all these businesses, and through really no fault of his own, because he's a pretty competent fellow. They all just seem to close, or this or that happens, and suddenly he's down to almost out of money. And he's thinking, this is really strange. What is going on here? And he sort of looks at what he has, and he ends up getting this job as a condominium salesman. And he's done a lot of sales, so he goes, I should be able to make money here. He says, but given how long it takes to close on real estate, these condominiums, and he says it takes about 45 days usually, he says, I only have about 45 days until I can make my first sale. So, goes on about 4 weeks, and he has a bunch of nibbles, and nothing's going on. He's starting to really sweat bullets. Doesn't know quite what he's going to do, and 5 weeks goes on, and 6 weeks goes on, and it's like 2 or 3 more days, and he's praying all the time. This fellow talks a lot. He's very spiritually oriented. He talks a lot with God. And finally, the 45th day comes, and nothing. Nobody shows up. No nibble. He goes home really depressed. Decides he's going to quit. Doesn't know what he's going to do. And that night he goes out to this retreat, his grounds, on the ocean, beautiful trees, this sort of thing. And he starts walking and talking to God, and finally he gets to a point where he just falls on the sand, and he says, clenches his fist and says, God, you've got to take the heat off. He says, I work hard, I deserve to get paid, and my family deserves to be supported. And I was like, vehemently, just almost shouting it. And suddenly, his whole being sort of shifts. And he feels this, like every breath that he takes in, he's feeling the presence of God. And he's feeling it all through him and everywhere he is. He says, I was really sort of upset because I wanted God to appear before me, outside of me, separately from me, and comfort me. Because I wanted some comfort. But anyway, experience ends, and he goes home, and he's convinced he's got to just, it was a nice experience, but it wasn't any money. Convinced he's got to quit. So he shows up the next morning to work, and he's going to tell the boss he's quit, and the boss isn't around, and in walk 2 couples. He says, usually, having 2 couples is a disaster, because one couple will like something, the other couple won't, and they'll talk each other out of buying anything. In this case, he said, was totally different. He walked him over to one condo. One couple fell in love with it and said, we'll take it. He goes, oh. And the other couple was crestfallen because they loved it too. And he said, the one right next to it's available too. And they go, oh, wonderful. So they're all excited, and as they're walking back to the sales room, they say, you don't have any investment condos for sale, do you? He goes, well, yeah. And he shows them one, and one couple says, oh, I'll take it. And the other one says, oh, we wanted it. So this is another one right like this. So he's walking back. His main job is to not look like he's so overjoyed that they're going to be shocked. So he gets them into the room, and they're filling out all this paperwork and this, and they're all just laughing and having a wonderful time. And they ask questions about clauses and things, but right before the first man's going to sign, he picks up the pen and he looks at him and he says, "This will take the heat off, won't it?" And the other three of the couple just are like dumbfounded, like, huh? And he's stunned. And they see him, well, so look, ease up. We're just, He goes, no, he works hard. He deserves to get paid. His family deserves to be supported. And of course, he's just dying inside, not knowing what to make of this. And but anyway, they all sort of pass him. And then he sort of stops and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what came over me." And then they all sign. And he says, the joke is, he says that 3 out of 4 of those condos failed to close. One of them did close, but it kept him going. And within a week, 2 more, bought and sold for cash very quickly. And his life just sort of went on. And he just realized that this is all about, bringing this sort of full of himself New York executive down to realize that he wasn't in control, that God was in control. And of all things, and the things we love and the things we think we're great at, the things we fail at, the bad things that happen to us, it's all part of this great and wonderful tapestry. I should have had us sing the song "Weave." That would have been perfect, huh? This great tapestry. Is that in the lyrics? In the lyric sheet. It doesn't matter. We're running late anyway. We're not gonna do it. But there's this one giant tapestry that we look at it and it's being woven together, and we just have no clue the beauty and the perfection of it, because we're just looking at the individual strands and thinking, oh, I'm being twisted and pulled this way and that way and being jerked through my paces, and it's just part of God weaving this beautiful tapestry. So our job, no matter what comes up, is just to fill it with love, to respond with love. That brings us close to God. It allows everyone else that same pleasure. And really, it's the only real power that we have, is to turn to love. So amen to that.